Does the green light on this mean it's connected, or just mean it's on?
I'm gonna check right now.
Hi.
We're live.
Oh, she'll be right with you. She's just in the middle of she's right here. She'll be right with you. Thank you so much.
There's another clerk in there.
Oh, there is another clerk in there. Yep, right across. Yep. I don't know, just keep my mouth shut. That'd be good.
Do you think you have sound?
Yeah, there's sound.
What are
Oh, I can hear you. time. Thanks for coming in. And we have Steve Eichler from Trout Unlimited here as a guest, and Gary, our perennial guest. Matt in for Florian. Oh, right. And we have the pleasure of Christos being here at a meeting. It's so exciting.
Yes,
Glad to
indeed.
hear. How come? I'm so happy, but how come?
Well, you landed a grant or 2 grants, one of which is in
Yeah,
Chile.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, well, I was gonna bring it up later on today, but, happy news. I actually secured, some funding from the DEC for the salt shed for the town of Springfield.
Oh.
And don't clap until we actually successfully close that project. So, because right now starts the arduous process of the paperwork, the bidding,
Yeah,
the what's it called? The prevailing wage, the seekering, and all that good, and everything else in between.
well,
So-
Christos, that's really, thank you so much for your good work on that.
But in a more positive news, I will be meeting with the town of Springfield soon, next week, I believe,
Okay,
to discuss about the next steps moving forward and getting the paperwork up and running. But yes, we finally got that, and that is one notch to achieving our goals for Otsego Lake and its watersheds.
yes, sir, thank you. And then sometime this summer, we're hoping for an assessment grant for the
Yes,
pond. Then thank you for agreeing to look at that in the
Yes.
summer.
I will. I brought it up to my board, and I will wait for it to open up so I can effectively apply for it.
Thank you, Christos. We really appreciate your work. We really do. Do you feel it? You feel it?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure.
While we're talking about the salt shed,
Mhm.
I got asked by Galen whether the 90 grant could contain any, requesting any money for the 25% that is not covered by the grant.
Whether the 9-element plan, whether the grant for the 9-element plan by the Department of State can cover that 25%, the answer to that will most probably be no, because the traditional model of contributions is state federal, state private, state NPO, but it's almost never state.
State. And do you know, there's a match, obviously.
Yes, there is a match. It is basic. So we got awarded. Yes, we got awarded in the town. When I say we, I mean the royally. We with the town of Springfield, although we are the grant holders.
Yeah.
We got awarded as $575,000 for the
Wow.
implementation of that project. This is something I was going to speak to the town, but traditionally speaking, how this goes is that if it's 575 and below, the other party needs to pay 25% of whatever that cost is. So let's say it's about $200,000. They still have to pay that 25%. Now, that part of the 25% can be in-kind labor, and that is a whole other can of worms that I'm not going to get into today.
Yeah.
But for anything of 575 and below, there is a mandatory 25% or more contribution. Now, should something weird happen and it's above that 575,000, then any surplus cost is effectively the responsibility of the other party. So there is that. I have to bring it up to that. Now, that being said and done, I'm working with another town for installing another project, about similar size, if not a bit larger. That one went about 400 and something thousand when it was Sourcewelled.
What town was that, Chris?
Well, it's all public knowledge. It's the
Oh,
town
okay,
of
never
Pitt. So no, it's not private. It's public knowledge because it's announced. The town of Pittsfield.
Oh, really?
That one was about 400 and something $1,000. So again, barring any unknown unknowns, it should be within that same range. And if we were to account for inflation, maybe 500,000. I cannot put my hand in the fire and say 100%, but based off of past experience, that's the best guesstimation that I have. And I tack a little bit more because I try to catch the inflation as it goes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, great work. And, just before we officially start, Kyoko, we owe Kyoko quite a bit. She took the lead on a grant to assess the dam. She also did a lot to secure the match. She and I worked together on that behind the scenes a bit. Thank you. That was, without you, we wouldn't be able to do this. So we really appreciate that. Any update you want to share with the group?
It's officially due on the 30th of January, and Ashley from Southern Tier 8 helped a lot. She's off for well-deserved holiday right now. So people from the SUNY Research Foundation and I are working in earnest to make the submission happen in the next few business days. But thank you for those who provided support and wrote letters.
Well, really, Kyoko, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
Thank you very much. That was, and I think to me, the assessment of the dam is critical to the work that we're doing with the 90 plan. So I think that's really good work. Thank you so much. And then Jake submitted the first report since 1980 to the state. Yay. Great job.
89. And it's not submitted yet, but I have
Okay.
updated based on the comments that I got back, so.
It's a good
submitting
report.
hopefully this week, yeah.
Very well done. And more work to do, but still, it's a big hurdle that we were able to get accomplished because you're here, Jake, so thank you. All right, so let's go back to the minutes. Anybody want to move the minutes or make any changes to the last meeting?
I would like to ask that from now on, when we're talking about invasive mussels, that we call them invasive.
Okay,
We're not studying the pearly mussels in the lake.
okay, so you want me to just say invasive?
Yeah, you could just do IMD in front of it. My eyes keep bulging every time I see that.
Okay. Okay. I don't have that same factor, but I'm glad you do it. All right, so we will do that. Do you want me to change these minutes or are you okay going forward?
Oh, going forward.
Okay. With that, does someone want to move the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, second?
One second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Really quickly, we did not go over the scientific advisory report last meeting, and we are supposed to. Kyoko did send it out. Or are there things you wanted to talk about from that? I was particularly interested in all the educational sessions that you included in that report.
Okay, so quickly, I'm just going through that.
Take your time. Take your time.
So, let's see. So, don't be salty by DEC. There was some email traffic about it, and I encourage all the municipalities to consider, adopting some of the best practices in salt management, or learning about best management practices that are out there, or possibly going for WQIP grant, like the salt storage stuff that the Springfield just got the grants for. There was a regional meeting by the New England's Interstate Water Pollution Control Commission, or NUIPIC, and I am going to that one. So that is it's from 3rd to 6th of February. So I will miss the next meeting, but I will send out the February report. But this one has interesting sessions on things like cyanobacteria and HAB monitoring and mitigation, and also groundwater monitoring and assessment session. And there are DEC presenters, so I am really looking forward to connecting with them. There's another non-point source conference in Plymouth, Massachusetts, that is 7th to 9th of April. And that, again, is a good one because it is organized by those interstate, agreement organizations. And then the NICE Polar Conference is 8th to 9th of May at Lake George again. And anyone interested in becoming the CSLAB volunteers need to have the paperwork sorted out and then go to the Holden, I think, in-person training if they are becoming a new volunteer.
And you and Bill are presenting at that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
And then there are a bunch of training and certification programs by the Cornell Local Roads Program. They started to do a lot more webinars instead of in person. And also they released the recordings from the past sessions. They also have acknowledgement program for in-person or online synchronous participation, and they get like different levels of recognitions and so on. So I highly recommend that each towns encourage their highway workers to participate in those trainings. And the cost to sign up for the Road Master Program is only $10. And the webinars are free, and they get credit for checking in and out of those webinar sessions, and after so many hours of education, they get recognition and also some merchandise.
Kyoko, I wonder, do we want to send that to the supervisors and Mitch? I don't know that they would have necessarily picked up on, they should have from your report, but would you be willing to send it out or tell me what to send and I'll send it?
I will just put a short email together and send it to you, and then you can forward to the
Okay,
people that
Okay.
are relevant.
that sounds great.
And then also there are on-site wastewater training programs. Some of them are in person, some of them are online. Some of the sessions are New York centric. And those could be good opportunities for people who are interested in getting into the septic service business, or those who are already in it, but they can get more certification and credibility.
Okay.
And that's about it.
Okay, well, that's plenty. All right, so I will send out to the Road Master Program. Whatever you send me, I'll send out to the different supervisors and Mitch.
Thank you.
Pat just noted the Cornell program will send team members to analyze local road problems and suggest solutions.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, that's the same program that Otsego had intern from. Town of Otsego had intern to evaluate the roads. So they already did that.
They did that, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But other municipalities could do something.
Something like that, right. Then your email on BMPs and the CAST model, Kyoko, is there anything for us to do here on that, or I didn't want to not mention it?
I think Jake is the one who is trying to get BMP ideas from the municipalities,
Okay,
right?
Yes.
To get the scenarios going.
I also met with Wendy and Chantel after the last modeling meeting. So it does sound like it definitely is not going to be the case that it's just like, all right, everybody tell us what to do, and then there's no further guidance on that. We did send out an additional BEC survey.
right.
Hopefully isn't too arduous on top of what the municipality is already doing, but it seems a lot more straightforward, I think, than the other one. And they had noted that the village had already turned in their version of that. So still at a point of collecting data, but I think a little further out in the modeling work, and I'll have some suggestions, a bit of a menu to discuss with people.
okay. I wonder, Paul, is that something that you would want to be involved in?
Sure.
Maybe you can work with Jake on it when you're ready to have some help with it.
Okay, sure.
Okay. The inspection letter is still on hold, just to verify for right now.
You're referring to the fees. That's
Inspection fee letter, yes, thank you very much. Yep, that's currently on hold. I got that right? Yes.
Right.
Okay. Christos, I'm so glad you're here. So the whole tree planting thing that Soil and Water does, is there something we can do to enhance people's knowledge that the Ag Committee / Tributary Committee is going to take, that list of things you do to help landowners that you gave me? They're thinking of sending that around to people so people know about it. But are there ways that we can let people know?
As of now, honestly, nothing that I can think of off the top of my head that
Okay.
you haven't heard before.
All right.
Flyers and brochures always help. If anybody actually asks you any questions for that, you can always just direct them to, you can always just direct them to us.
Okay.
Those are the two things that I can think of.
Okay.
And other news, and kind of unrelated to what you're saying, but close enough. We are in the final steps of getting the tree sale of Otsego County up and running. We've already sent out the checks to basically guarantee the trees from the various nurseries that we procure them from. So that we've been getting a lot of phone calls on that. We have not forgotten it.
Okay.
Yes.
Are these trees, the mature trees, or are these the mass plantings of relatively small seedlings?
They're a combination of both. So we do get, for some of them, some saplings, but oftentimes we get seedlings as well. Most of the times, like conifers and all of that, they tend to be seedlings. But if they're more around the lines of fruit trees, they're more saplings.
So in terms of soil and water conservation, you probably saw the recent article that commented how the tree planting has a very low success rate, especially, the ones, and I'm familiar with property owners who've used them, but you have the plastic.
The riparian buffer program, yes.
And those, so what is your assessment of the utility of that program, the efficacy of it, the success of it, the proportion of surviving plants?
So here is the deal. I will push back on that paper, and I will say that the survivability of those trees is dependent on how much the landowners want to actually contribute to their survivability. For a lot of the programs, we do have a set period of time where we contract out to a separate mower to go out and effectively mow it, so they can suppress the weeds and all of that. Now, beyond that, if the landowners expect that after 3 years, they could just let it ride as is. They really shouldn't be shocked that those trees die. There's obviously going to be some casualty rates, considering with like winter heaving and fungal diseases and other kind of other predation that happens. But there's also the thing that the landowners cannot really say, okay, 3 years have passed up and I don't have to care about it anymore. It's a continuous process of monitoring. Now, another counter argument I would have to that is for what it offers or for how much it costs, it's a relatively cost efficient program, because you have the other option of putting riprap and all of those other things, and those can go up to at least a couple $10,000, and that is being very cheap about it. So you can plant the trees. There's going to be some casualty rates, but if you take care of them, you're going to have to pay a couple of thousand, depending on your acreage. And if it's a really huge amount of acres, maybe a $10,000 something dollars, but that's for like really huge amounts of land. And yeah, you pay that much, and some of them die, but many of them also go and grow once they get established. They're effectively okay. Or you can go through the whole thing of rip wrapping, and then you can look at a couple $100,000 bill.
Right, and I'm not advocating that sort of thing. The natural treatment is seemingly better, but I have seen where a lot of these plantings, and with personal knowledge, are in marshy areas where you're trying to protect where the water is springing up to form the stream, the kind of the headwaters on farmland. Scores of acres involved, and not readily accessible once you plant by mowing equipment or anything, because of the nature of of the land. So it's, anyway, I
Well-
just was curious to read that article.
Well, to put an addendum to what I just said, although it's not as much offered as the riparian buffer program, and by the way, these are things that we do in conjunction with the USC. So just a bit of an asterisk over there. We also in conjunction with the USC do offer a wetland restoration and enhancement program. So for something like that, let's say that there's a spring over there, instead of just planting trees and calling it a day, it probably would be more ideal to basically turn it to a wetland and once we do that, let nature take its course. That program would probably work a lot better for such a situation that you brought up. But at the same time, you also have to realize is that a lot of landowners tend to misconstrue that with the free lake program, which it is not. Yes.
Yes, so when you're doing this project and planting trees, do you have a list of the trees that are available? Obviously you would. And you correlate that to the soil that they're getting planted in and test for that specific tree to grow in a soil specifically so that they're successful?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, we actually developed, because one of our techs has experience in software, we actually developed a program that attempts to correlate the soil type of the area of interest with the trees that have the highest establishment success rate. So we do look at those factors and we do try to plan to the best of our ability for that. Also, we almost always attempt to go with native plants instead of, do I want to say nativized? That's not exactly, I don't think that's a word in the Oxford Dictionary. But yes, indigenous to the area. So yes, we do examine these factors. Any other questions?
No,
Okay.
but you will have an answer if there were.
Well, this is the part where I joke and I say I may have an answer, but it won't necessarily be the correct one. Just joking.
It usually is correct, Christo. We received last time before our last meeting, this don't get eaten alive about de-icer safety. And Bill Richmeyer suggested that, did we want to send this out to homeowners? I'm guessing that would come out more from OLA than from us, but I just wanted to bring it up. Is it something that we wanted to make sure people see? Jim, what do you think about that? Can he hear?
I'm not sure he's on anymore.
Okay.
That's a difficult-
I did post a link to that website on OLA webpage,
Okay,
so at least it's there.
okay. Let me talk to Jim and see if that's something he wants to specifically talk to people about. I mean, that's the best way we can send stuff out. We don't yet have, WSC does not yet have a, email list that we can use. Response from the homeowner on the new tank.
Yes, so it's been a bit frustrating because I feel like I'm making progress, but we're not quite there yet. So we had prepared, and I had discussed with you the letter to send out, and then I heard back from them. So
Good.
I did receive the tank schematic. I did not receive the as-built description yet. So I've had phone calls, additional follow-up phone calls, and probably 10, 15 phone calls into this process at this point. But I talked to the homeowner, and I talked to the contractor, and I do believe that now is the time to send the letter out because it's been 2 more phone calls after a phone call where I talked to the contractor and I still have not gotten it. So I do think probably that is necessary to now
Okay.
get a certified letter.
All right.
And
As long as that's
This letter is requesting review by an engineer?
no. So basically what this was us finding out retroactively that a tank had been installed. And the assurances that I've been given is that it did not have anything to do with upgrading any kind of capacity or anything. But there was identified probably, 15 years ago, there was an issue with a very, very minor leak in the tank. It was well checked out, and it was determined that it was not a significant leak. There was no actual seepage into the ground from the tank. So it was left as is. So this was very much an instance of the homeowner trying to do the right thing during a property transfer. So the person I have been talking to does not currently own the home. But yeah, I'm just waiting on the description, and I've been given several promises that it would be forthcoming, but have not gotten it yet.
All
So,
right, well,
uh,
good, that is
So we-
progress, that's progress.
yeah, assuming nobody's bothered, I think that's kind of the next step.
Okay.
Jacob, did you, in that letter you're sending out, are you identifying that if there's some improvements to the septic, if it's at that point, would there be funding for that landowner to help pay for that?
Yeah, so there is a state program that this is connected to, and this honestly was the homeowner trying to get reimbursed partially through the state program.
Yeah.
So that's hopefully for her, the end result of this process is that she is partially reimbursed for that.
Great, that's good progress, I think. Willowbrook report, which Joe shared with us, and I wondered, is there anything we need to do with that right now?
I don't think so.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing an opportunity here.
Well, to be clear, the report is complete. The Corps of Engineers has done its
Yep.
dash with it. The question is, do we find anything in it that could lead to the shaping of our 9E plan, for example?
Paul, did you look at that report? Did you-
Yes, I did.
What were your
And I
thoughts?
drove up and down the hill a couple times today.
Mhm.
Yeah. We're lucky to have Matt here because Matt spent a bunch of time looking at Willowbrook about 20 years ago.
I did,
So where is all the mud coming from?
the village. At that point it was, though, I should clarify that. At that point, the village was using braces on the roads
Yeah.
as opposed to salt. And I think an awful lot of the problem with that stream was because of the runoff. At that time, a long time ago, I spoke to people that were involved in the highway department, and they called it sand. They were sanding the roads, and I said, this is not sand, it's mud. And they said, well, we can't use sand because sand would plug up the culverts, and we have to clean the culverts out. And what we're using is great because it washes right through. Clearly, they're not doing that anymore. The water quality work we've been doing recently has been focused on the summer months. So obviously, winter activities are not captured. Overall, the quality seems to have been improved during the time we're looking at it. I think the fact that the village is street sweeping regularly is great because all that dust and pollen and animal waste is not washing into the stream.
But the report does show that there's an issue.
So-
Have you seen it?
Driving up and down the
I
road.
have not seen the report, no.
I'll get it to you.
Can you please forward that report to me as
Of
well?
course.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought, I didn't see that. Brigitte, what are you referring to in the report about it?
Well, no, I think the report was all about flooding and all of that, but we had a conversation about it at the last meeting about were we concerned about Willowbrook and.
Right, and so after that, we had our conversation, and then I spoke with Cindy Falk, and she reiterated what you just stated, that the village has long since ended sanding the roads, and that the State Department of Transportation doesn't do that either. So the only sources of that sort of dirt I see are riding up to the dump.
Yeah.
The driveway up to the dump, but I can't imagine, I don't know that that's all of it. And it's true, the village participated in those decisions. We've made a considerable investment in a new street sweeper, and that comes by our window in the mornings at 5 a.m.
5 a.m.
A disturbing regularity, but it's doing its job.
Yeah, creating impervious surfaces causes a very big challenge. Rather than getting infiltration, you get water hitting rooftops and sidewalks and roads and parking lots and very quickly moving laterally from Quotient Station into the stream. So it's a difficult situation to control effectively.
Yeah. So my quick run up and down twice the hill today shows that a lot of mud is coming out of the landfill area. You can see the road is streaked with salt going up and down, but coming down from the landfill. There's plenty of mud coming out into the road. There's also the issue of the salt compromising the integrity of the soil. And with the impervious surface being such a big part of that narrow watershed coming down the hill there, erosion is just going to keep happening along Willow Brook itself,
Yeah.
paralleling the road coming down. Now, I don't see as many opportunities for amelioration as I had hoped.
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out, Paul, is whether or not we need to put something in the 90 about Willowbrook, but we can't seem to get our hands on, what it would be and whether, have we really studied it to know? Go ahead.
If I'm thinking about that area that's, what is of Willow Brook, it would be as you leave up and go towards that dump, it's that exposed, it's that, ravine, and I don't think that's the correct word.
Ravine, yes, at the
That-
bottom part. Yeah.
So if I'm thinking of the same area that you are thinking, the highway, what is it? We do have a hydro seeder. But, and this is the caveat, that's gonna have to be done with the help of the highway department of Cooperstown or the county or whoever, to just go and just basically put some of that hydro seed on there to at least stabilize the soil. That's gonna be a summer job, but it's a form of stabilization, albeit maybe not the one that you guys are looking for.
Well, no, what do you think?
The fact that the ravine is on the south side of the road
Mhm.
and that it is overhung with the hemlock that it is, says to me that the hydro seeding operation is going to provide
It's untenable.
Yeah.
not as good a return on investment as we would hope.
It's an untenable situation, okay.
Thank you, though. Great idea.
Yeah.
Certainly the ditch that runs along Beauty that drains into the Willow Brook. Any ditches along that straight, that section would be very valuable to see.
Yeah,
Well-
how about that?
Here's the thing, back in the day, the district used to do the hydro seeding. So I'm gonna put that out there. But that was back in the day where we could skirt the law and drive like a big dump truck without a CDA license.
This is recorded, Chris.
Well, you know what? Most of the people who remember those have either gone to the great beyond or don't work for the district anymore.
Yeah, or lost their minds, yeah. So
Or lost their
that's-
minds. So I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, okay.
But nowadays, number one, what is it? We can't really do that anymore because we don't have the ability to drive those large vehicles. And number two, my staff is either too old or too obligated with other aspects too. I'm short-staffed for that specific type of labor. So for the most part, we tend to outsource that to the highway department to have both the muscle and the equipment to haul that, because it's a big piece of machinery, out to basically do it.
Is it something we want to talk with Mitch about?
One angle, I think I agree with Paul that there's, in terms of the source, a non-point source, it's very hard to decide where to attack this problem. But at the other end,
Right.
this gets concentrated at some point in the stream. And is there any viable thought for sediment retention or capture facilities that would periodically be, emptied? But that would intercept the sediments before they get to the lake. And Paul expressed the concern that that's a source of nutrients for invasive species and otherwise. But it's clearly there. I mean, we have a growing delta.
And we could do some things with check dams along the ravine. We could slow down that flow of water so it isn't quite as erosive. Might even look at lining the ravine in certain parts.
Well, there is
It's
a
not
sediment
like it
extension-
has.
there's a sediment extension basin on that arm of Willow Brook.
Yes, and we talked about
It's above,
cleaning that thing out.
I think it's above where most of the problem exists, but dredging that out as needed is certainly
You mean right there at the intersection of Main and 28?
It's a bit above that, but not far, yeah.
Yeah,
You can see it.
You can see the pond right
You
there.
can see it from
But
back.
that to me is capturing the water shedding off that hill on the north side of the road. It's really not,
But just because how fast that thing filled up again says that that's a large part of the problem right there.
And that
And
was,
that's why I said last meeting that we need to take advantage of both of those catch basins. Clark Pond and I always call it the beehive mud hole.
right, okay, if we're talking about the same place.
Yeah, it's got the beehives up on the hill behind it. Yeah,
Are there I mean, whose property, I thought that was private property.
it is probably.
but Soil and Water did excavate it out probably around 2000.
Yeah.
And like Paul said, it's filled out, and it filled out, that meant
Really
it's
fast.
capturing sediment.
And I should say, if I understand the plumbing correctly, the hospital housing project site drains from there through a pipe down the hill and then into that basin. So I don't know what stormwater retention, remediation, whatever, would occur in association with that. Usually if you're gonna have impervious services, you're gonna have a higher runoff. But right now, if you take a ride up to that site, you'll see under the road where the culverts are, and then the water runs down into that beehive pond, as I understand it. So,
I mean, there's sort of three choices, right? One is to just, one is always to do nothing, but do we want to have some intelligent approach to this in the 90 plan? I mean, it's an opportunity to put stuff in there that we think needs to be fixed. And I certainly wouldn't be able to put it in there.
I mean, I recommend that it be accounted for. We're gonna have to prioritize at some point what projects we want to implement, but isn't the whole idea to have an effective inventory from which with which we can pursue grants later on?
Yeah.
But it seems to be an area of concern that we ought to account for.
Okay.
Yeah, and then DEC do have stormwater system grants, and moving forward, it seems like the existing sediment catchment, the structure is somehow not easy to be dredged, but ideally those should be designed in a way so that it can be emptied every so many years, not like decades.
Yeah.
So that's something that could potentially be, included in the 9-element plan as desirable directions to go.
Okay.
Oh, it's easy to dredge it. It's just the permitting that takes you through hell.
Yeah, but once you get on a regular schedule, the permits become, until somebody new comes into the job. Then they give you heck again. Yeah.
But I'm thinking of I didn't know where the housing project was, but I think it's gaining some momentum again. And I don't know if the site planning is taking this detail into consideration. So that might be something that the planning board and the hospital and this committee can intersect on.
Okay. All right, see if I can put this in some intelligible way in the minutes, and we'll figure out what we're going to do with it. Any more on that? I'm going to move to styrofoam because it's so kind of Steve to have been here. Thank you for coming. I think what we had decided last time that we would develop some sort of a letter to homeowners that would help them understand how to be better citizens around this. What are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, so I wrote up a draft letter and I just shared it with Steve. And so we're kind of thinking about what approach we want to take so we can let, these property owners know that this is a problem without making them feel like they're in trouble for something.
Yeah?
So far I have some information about, what is this foam, why it's bad, and the proposed legislature that's kind of in progress right now. And I don't know, is he back on the call?
Is Jim back on?
No.
Okay, well, because I wanted to see if OLA can absolutely provide the stipends for people who do decide to fix their docks. And also another question would be, if we give people a stipend, how do we know for sure that they are fixing their dock with it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what a
Where's
good
that?
way to check that
Yeah.
would be.
Now,
We didn't
here-
actually take a vote on it at the last OLA board meeting, but we came to a consensus that we are eager to spread the word, not so eager to spend money on
Right.
individual homeowners.
Okay.
And Kyoko, you did an educational thing in their newsletter about this, no?
Yes, and then I passed on that newsletter article and also some newer piece of information to Stephen Phillips, who is on the OLA board, and he was trying to put something together that is more
All right.
recent.
So we need you and Stephen Phillips,
Okay.
and the Stephen, to get together and see how we do this. OLA has the mailing list, they have the attention of their members. That's not the whole crowd who has styrofoam stuff, but it's a huge percentage of it. So I will do an email that includes you
Okay.
to Stephen, and then you guys can sort of, what do you think about that? Does that make sense to you?
Okay.
Okay.
And
Anything else to add while you're here?
Yeah.
I'm so glad you came.
What are we doing about the village? Encapsulated visitor relief.
Joe is on the board
say
here.
that again? Hi.
The village, there's 192 floats out there underneath their floating docks. And some of them have been chewed up by muskrats. So we need a lot of styrofoam. And I work for Paul as a host for 3.5 years.
Sure.
And we started scooping it up little by little, styrofoam here and there. It's hard to find where it's coming from. Eventually we found it. I'm gonna guess maybe 5 of those encapsulated floats have been compromised by the muskrats, we think. So there's a bunch of styrofoam floating around.
So that's ours, that's the village's.
Yeah, and we would offer as Charter Limited to help.
Well, that's,
It's gonna be a lot of work, it's gonna take a long time, those 192 of them are changed to something that the muskrats don't like.
right, so, and muskrats I thought were a valuable species.
Just
But I thought they
only
were
Muskrat
protected.
Sally and Muskrat Sam, the rest of it.
Well, I was unaware of the village dock being a source of some of this. If we have an inventory of that, we need to know it, we can make, there, a couple of years ago, one of the fingers of the dock broke off, and I found it over on the golf course by their water intake, and I didn't know what it was at first because it was upside down and everything, and I finally told Mitch, I think this is ours, and he said, I've been looking all over for that, so they came and got it, but I think they can be, the fingers can be detached and reattached if we have to, fix one of those floats. I don't know how easy or hard it is to get at the main dock floats, but there's got to be some kind of technical manual on the replacement of those things, because I can't assume the manufacturer believes these are going to last forever.
As a manufacturer anymore, I think that they're, we have an essential stuff.
Yeah, I have pictures of the
The
floats that
docks.
are under there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you need something in writing from these
That
folks?
would be terrific.
Can
And
can
make
you
it
and
as,
Victoria send something to Joe, as he's a village board member, so he can bring it
well,
forward?
let's do it, I think our system is to come through Jake. This is
Perfect, great.
I'll certainly work with anybody and everything on it, but we need all this to
Great.
come funneling through, then we'll process it here and get
Okay.
it to the board.
Will you take the lead on that?
Yeah.
You will, okay. Thank you, Steve. And other things we should know about? Go ahead.
Well, we would need Paul's help, because.
Don't we all?
We
Yeah.
don't know which ones are being bad, there's 192 of them out there.
Yeah.
Across the county.
Yeah.
And not all 192 of them are leaking, or been compromised, and some of them have, so.
Are they, we've accused, without any due process, the muskrats. Are there collisions, boat operators who can crack those things open and,
I think we'll look better if we take a look at it. We send somebody in the water to look at it and see if it marks in there.
Okay. And have you seen any coordination with Lakefront and their floating? They have some flotation over there.
With what ones?
Lakefront Hotel?
No, those don't float. Those are rigid.
Right, I know that some of them, but don't they have, to launch their kayaks and so forth? I thought they had some floating things right by the,
The one might be where the little dock where they launch.
Yeah.
Okay. But these have been, the styrofoam we saw have been confirmed coming from both the east and the west.
wow, well, yeah, that should get to us,
Yeah.
as quickly as possible.
Just-
That's been, because I certainly noticed it, and,
Yeah.
but I didn't know its origin.
And then however it goes from there between Paul and Jacob, et cetera, that we'll take it from there. But I really appreciate you bringing this forward for us to know so we can fix stuff. Because otherwise, don't assume we know anything. Well, that didn't sound right.
Assume we don't know everything.
Assume we don't know everything. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it. You're welcome to stay. We'd love to have you to stay if you'd like to. Okay. Update on the communication committee. We did get approval for Victoria to work with me on the communication committee. Jake is checking with Anchor QEA to find out if part of their engagement is to help with this. But we're thinking about, all these things we're talking about, getting information out, but also looking at ways in which we can engage folks in what we're doing. So there's not just the information that goes to WAC and leadership, but trying to figure out the next public meeting, trying to figure out how to get homeowners together from around the lake, just focused on their issues, and some of the businesses. So as soon as we hear back from Anchor QEA, we'll put together a plan and bring it back here. Okay, as you all know, the first 3 chapters, you all had an ability to look at that and get information back. Jake has submitted all the changes that he could to Wendy.
Yep.
And-
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, so she's gone over most of that, and she sent me an update just today. I've not had a chance to look at it yet, but I'm going to review that. I will add the additional comments that I'd also received, the full extent possible. I did confirm, I do have a copy, Kyoko, of anything that wasn't addressed from your first comments, but that was most of what she addressed, was the stuff that you had pointed out. So yeah, I think we're in good shape, and I should have an update soon.
Okay,
And just to follow up on that, you and I had discussed that I will be discussing with her then when we'll schedule the upcoming February meeting.
and so this is a
WAC
meeting again with
leadership.
WAC and leadership to, I think what we do is we get those 3 chapters out to those members,
Yep.
and then we meet and see what they had to say about them.
Yes,
Yes? Okay.
yeah, I think that's the plan.
Okay,
So let me ask just, in terms of our overall critical path, Gantt chart schedule,
Sure.
the end, how are we situated?
I think we're still in good shape. I mean, again, the main goal from my perspective is that by the time we're doing our late summer public meeting, that we have, the substantial bulk of that put together. We have outputs of some of the modeling work and the discussions that we've had with municipalities and so forth about the DMPs. So yes, I believe so. I'll have another update after I've talked to her, but it seemed like even with holding off for some of these updates, that we should still largely be on track.
and
Is-
Joe,
is
just,
there-
this is the Gantt chart that you can,
Thank you. Is there anything you need the Board of Trustees to do? You'll be reporting to advance one or another elements of these things, or do you think you've got it in hand for now?
I think I've got it in hand, Joe, but I'll keep that inquiry in mind if
Okay.
something comes up, definitely.
Okay.
Nothing offhand I can think of now, but.
Okay, great, thanks.
all right, good. Well, great job on that, because that was difficult to coordinate, send back. I appreciate that work.
Sure.
Let's see, maybe at the next meeting or the meeting after, Jake will sort of have a sense of the requirements around septic review in places maybe where we haven't done them, and you'll give us an update about your thoughts about how we pull that together. we were talking about before the meeting.
Yes, I don't know if by the next meeting I'll have like a new
Whenever.
list of here's the ones that we haven't looked at, but as I discussed, I'll be talking to the county. And a
So
few
we'll-
other people to try to get a better picture of what we might not have hit.
We'll wait till you're
To be-
ready.
To be perfectly honest, given my capacity as a department of one, to be clear, since we're recorded, I'm not saying we have people that I know are not in compliance,
Right,
but just that we have people that are due for inspections that we have not conducted.
absolutely, absolutely. And there may be, it may be a creative thought to figure out what we need to do to get up to speed, to help Jake get up to speed, whatever that might be. And that might then go to the board.
Yes,
Okay.
sure.
I think it would be helpful if you could have that little bolus of help that would put us back on track.
Do we have any plans or thoughts about inspecting systems that are on our tributaries?
That's what I was referring to. He's gonna sort of, he's got some map.
Yeah,
Jake.
sorry we weren't clear, but Bertina and I had discussed this a little bit right before we started. But mainly the idea is to see whether we can get a better sense, by working with the county, which has much more experience with ArcGIS and so forth, to see whether we can identify properties that are within sort of jurisdiction within the tributaries and around the lake, but mostly the tributaries in terms of what we're not currently looking at.
Oh, that's great.
But again, just given especially the limitations last year in terms of inspection, we have a lot that we need to do right now off the immediate list. So, but yes, developing a more complete list is on the radar screen.
Okay. We have the Lake George meeting coming up tomorrow. That's exciting. Okay, meeting with the gentleman who, his title is Lake Protector of Lake George. And so we're gonna meet with him to understand what we can learn from him and what we can glean from his experience.
I was gonna come over here for that. That works? Are you gonna have it on the screen?
Yeah, yes, sir. So we did that last time with the gentleman from Canandaigua, so I'll do the same thing. But yeah, his name is Chris Nowitzki. He has a lot of experience in general lake protection on a larger lake than our own and very ambitious sort of work. Bonnie did a lot of the heavy lifting of getting this arranged for us, so thank you to Bonnie.
Yes, thanks, Bonnie.
But yeah, so that'll be here tomorrow. And also, the Zoom link should have already been sent to you. We'll send out a second email tomorrow, but if you have any issues connecting, let me know.
Yep.
That person will be here tomorrow.
No, sir, I think he's gonna be just
on the
on the
phone.
Zoom.
That's what I was.
Yeah, but we're gonna come here to chat with him.
Whomever would want to. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like this, it would just be from my laptop. I don't have like a fancy external camera or anything, so it's sort of just facing the computer towards you all, at whatever arrangement works best. If they're going to be on video, I'll project that up on the screen.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be
so
cool.
either at home or here in the boardroom is good.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thanks,
Sure.
Bonnie, for setting that up, and thanks, Jake, for making that happen.
No problem.
Okay, tributary, agriculture committee update, anything to report? You have a meeting coming up.
I sent letters to 12 or 13 people. I had added one more just this morning that got passed on to me to meet with us the end of next week. I did get one person respond saying he was coming, but that's all I've heard from so far. It should be a very interesting meeting if they show up. I certainly hope they do, because I think we need to hear from them what their view of the interactions with the state, and looking into the amount of agricultural legal relationships there are for things that happen with them. That's enormous. But hopefully we'll get a few more people to show up and we'll see what we get.
Okay, thank you. Went over the line cleaning. I'm going to skip over these two quickly. I have not heard anything back from my emails to the town supervisors about a project they could work on together. We gave them a couple of ideas, salting, ice eaters and bubblers. I didn't really hear back except from Ted, Ted Fury, who's very good about responding, but nothing from any of the other leaders from the village or the other towns. Any ideas? Should I just leave it alone?
I just had something to add into that. I think I sent to everybody, I don't know if you got it, a study from Minnesota about how far they felt wakeboarding
Yeah.
vehicle boats need to be, which is 500 feet away, which would give us a lot more room. And I know that the people in the town of Springfield were concerned about that kind of activity being anywhere really north of Sunken Island, which is a pretty good, it's a lot of the lake, but it's quite shallow.
Yeah.
And I-
Unfortunately, for the wakeboarders, that echo is exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, right.
And the wakeboarding that we have seen on the lake has been right alongside Sunken Island.
I think part of it, I had two, and I don't know if everybody's seen that, there's, I can't remember which state this was from now, I think it was, anywhere from the Midwest, of views of the bottom of the lake with the boats driving over it and
Yeah.
seeing what that's like. And having people being aware of that, and as many people seeing that, would be, I think, very helpful to understand how far down that goes. I know the state of Michigan did a study where the amount of disturbance that's created by a wake boat is 20 times deeper than it would be for a boat going the same speed, but without the ballast and everything else that pushes it down. So, and that, all of that is a lot, and I think that the more that information we can get out about that, the better. Maybe we put on talk about it or open to the public or something.
Let me put it on let me put it on.
This isn't the time of year for it necessarily, but.
Well, let me put it on the agenda for next time, see if we can't come up with a plan.
Well, this may be a bit of a bold suggestion, but from my point of view on the village board, I would, I don't know how many we have in the lake already, but I certainly would consider legislation to say we were not going to grant both dock spaces to wake boats.
Well, I think that would be, the reason I started this right where we were is that we would need all of the people from the different towns and to be in on this.
It would have to be the exact same thing as the no wake zone buoys currently is. It would have to be legislation passed word for word by all the municipalities involved.
Yeah.
Right, but
And that didn't come easily, and
understood, but and I don't know what our authority is, I think for the health and safety of the lake and the local home rule authority and our special legislation to protect water quality, I think the village could successfully
Unilaterally, yeah.
decide we are not going to issue permits for wake boats.
but then who's going to enforce it?
Well, we see we want the specifications for your boat when you apply for a permit, you're not gonna get it.
But there's all sorts of other places to go in.
Well,
Such as
but
up in
they're-
Springfield, and that's the problem.
Right,
Who's
but-
going to enforce it? That's the issue we have right now with the no wake zone policy. Nobody's enforcing it.
Well, I guess the way I see this, the village is a major entrance to the lake. I don't know how much Springfield Landing gets or how it's monitored, but this is this is a very busy, it's a lot of, I think, a lot of daily traffic in the summertime for boat launches. So they're two, it's hard to control, but when I watched that video and I saw the multitude
Yeah.
of impacts, and they all collide with different elements of our mission, they're just astonishingly destructive.
Yeah.
So I don't, thinking of everything we're trying to do in little bits and here and there strategically, and then one boat comes in and buggers everything up because it can do it, because it's got the ability to do it. It doesn't
So
make a
I,
lot of sense.
I see two, maybe 2 or 3 ways of doing this. One is that the municipalities can just meet on this one topic and, we'd have to educate during that meeting. But I mean, I think it was Kyoko who sent us that video.
Yeah, so there are short videos, and also there was a hour-long webinar
Right.
by Adirondacks, and I strongly recommend that you watch that. It has been recorded and it's uploaded, and I can resend the link to that webpage. But the state of Vermont
Yeah.
has a statewide regulation, and Adirondacks Lake Alliance is pushing for a similar one in Adirondacks, and I bet Chris Navitsky is aware of that.
Yeah,
uh,
because he's connected to Lake
Champlain.
Champlain in Vermont. so.
Yeah, and, but in both cases, they're going for the zone, like motor sport zone. And the Vermont, DEC person had also interesting, comment about how they try to have like a home lake assigned to each of the boats and how it just didn't work out.
Right.
So it seems like banning the boats or regulating the boats are difficult, but setting a zone is somehow more attainable. And that's how they are going.
Yeah, I watched that with great interest, and I did notice that their regulation in Vermont was limited to lakes wholly within the state, so Lake Champlain was not covered by it because it's a border lake, and there were others. But it prompted the thought, well, what can we do with our home rule? So a ban on, before the industry gets a real footing and a huge lobby, and we're accused of taking people's private property rights away from them to run whatever kind of boat they want to. If we can get ahead of this some way, as a village, especially with our authority under this legislation, which is unique.
Yeah, they have all kinds of.
I think it's worth looking into.
So the other way it could go is the village says no wakeboarding, and then we pull the other towns in and say, would you like to join us in this? I mean, that's
We say no wake. The thing I think we have the most control over and still be non-discriminatory, because we have this state funding. I believe we can control access to the lake by setting hours so that you don't have to get up at 3 a.m. to get ahead of those bass boats that are coming into the lake. I mean, I think we can do that, especially when you link it to our lake protection legislation. So the first stop for me would be, what are the criteria of a berth at the village docks? So I don't know if this would work, but that would be a start. And then, sure, go ahead.
No, sorry, carry on. I have a question, but finish your.
No, and then the other would be, I don't know how we get out on the lake, and I don't know how we enforce day boat launches, but we could put up we could certainly put up notices, and if our boat stewards see a wake boat coming in, I mean, the idea that you would have, because this is a question I wanted to ask too, you would have a wake boat that takes on ballast water, that makes it heavier, that takes more energy to move it through the water. What are the exhaust impacts, and what is everything else going on?
Oh, the invasive species, that's why we were so upset for the last few years.
Well,
I'm gonna ask Steve a question.
Sure.
This is an emerging problem. Give us an idea of how many wakeboard boats you've seen in the last 3 years.
Not many, to be honest with you.
But has the number been increasing?
I don't think so.
So it's just been 2 or 3 a year,
Yeah.
and they've been here for day use, and then they're
Right.
gone. We don't have any wakeboards that I know of on this lake, whereas over in Canandaigua, on the weekends, they regularly have between 5 and 10 wakeboards out there crushing that lake.
So, speaking for our lake, we could get ahead of this.
We could get ahead of it, put a
Without-
stop to it, but enforcement is the key. And we are not at Lakefront or at Springfield Landing enough to keep somebody out that's determined to get in. Never mind at Bayside or
Sure, but somebody
any of
is,
the other hotels.
somebody's gonna have the idea of bringing a wake boat into our village dock, you know, and ask for a rental, and we're gonna be ahead of that.
I
And
agree.
instead of denying or revoking somebody's permission,
You're gonna say
I
no.
wanna be in advance of that, if we can do it legitimately. Anyway, that's all.
If people think they can't jump through a hoop, they might not come. So I think it's a good idea too. And then maybe if the village takes that approach and then goes to the supervisors of the 3 towns and says, will you join us? That would be a integrated municipality approach.
Or
Do you
we
want to
could-
take that?
You know, there's also a stewardship issue with the motel owners and everybody else as private property owners. They want their lake to be more successful or not. They would say, well, you're welcome, but not that boat.
I just hope that we do not enter in the same situation as we had with this, with the health law that was passed to me about, about a month ago plus, and we effectively end up with a rule that is unenforceable and effectively gives the village of Cooperstown extraterritoriality, which
What are we talking about, Chris? I don't know.
I'm basically kind of politely saying is that I understand the reason why you guys are talking about it, but having a law that is unenforceable effectively creates a moot situation.
Sure, but I'm not sure, right now, just to review the bidding, the village does, through the state of New York, have that extraterritorial authority. That's why we're talking about septic tank inspections well outside our jurisdiction. And we can enforce that. That's our authority. So I'm not sure what aspect of extraterritorial jurisdiction you're referring to.
What is it? I guess my warning kind of is that, I guess this is something that I'm just basically reiterating is that for every law and regulation that is to be passed, there has to be some form of, there's got to be teeth behind it. Because it cannot be a hollow sword.
Right. So in my case, my example rather, it's the village docks, we issue permits, we have criteria for getting a dock space. If yours is a wake boat, you don't get a permit. So we can enforce that because that's our property, our dock, our authority. That's all I'm not trying to, the rest is going to be persuasion. And I think even if the governments have less of an interest in doing it, then you appeal to the stewardship of the lakefront people who have their businesses on the lake, and they'll say, no, we don't do wakeboard boats.
Good caution. I think, we start somewhere.
I think also that if they were banned, some people might think, well, I can still get on the lake and do it anyhow, because there's not gonna be enforcement. But most people would not.
Okay.
Most people-
Or at least less people will bother.
Right.
Less
And also, I'll say, Marine Lake has signage at their access points banning wakeboards. I'm not sure if there's any teeth in that or not, but there are huge billboards saying wakeboards.
Where's this?
Moraine Lake.
Oh, Marine, okay, yeah.
They're saying they are absolutely banned, we're not permitted to have those big boats underwater. Might be worth talking to somebody about that experience.
Yeah.
Matt, save us the struggle of authoring the sign. Did you take pictures next time you're over there?
I will, but I'm not gonna be there.
Yeah, for a bit.
Yep,
Okay.
we'll do that.
You're not going there in 10-degree below zero weather?
No,
What?
we don't usually get there until May or so.
Where is that lake, Matt? I'm sorry.
Marin,
Madison County.
hour to the west of us,
Okay.
Madison County.
Okay, good discussion. I think that's a good thing for us to think about. Thanks for sending that, Kyoko. I appreciate it. Keep educating us. Okay, Pat, you had offered to check out if other lake associations had done anything about styrofoam. Were you lucky at all in getting information on that?
Sorry, I have to unmute.
Yeah.
I had muted. I knew that I was going to the this FOLA conference in May where I anticipated I'd be seeing people from, I don't know, 50 lake associations at least.
Okay,
Other than that, I have to ask the Dave Carr and the people who run the lake associations if they'll send something out to ask about that. And it seems like that would be the place to get everyone.
okay, all right, so we'll just put it that, we'll hope to get some info back in May, end of May.
Yeah, because when, 2 years ago, when I asked them about questions about lake managers and whether they had data on that, they said, come to the meeting.
Yeah.
So,
That's fine.
I also just checked, and maybe Bill knows this as well, because Springfield got that municipal home rule authority to be able to control out 1,500 feet into the lake for zoning purposes. So I just read the regs to see if they had put anything there about preventing styrofoam on their docks. They haven't, as far as I can tell, but it certainly looks like they could.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the possibility of doing the same thing they did and seeking that municipal home rule authority. And then what we do with it, it would be down the road, 2 years from now probably, but they might be able to do something about it now.
Yeah. I mean, each municipality could be doing something about it now. The idea here is to get the municipalities to work together on something, and I cannot get that moving.
Well, Springfield has the authority to control the docks in the lake. DEC is the permitting authority for the town of Otsego Lakeshore unless we go get it the same way that Springfield did. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We don't have the authority to tell them you can't put styrofoam on your dock.
right. Yeah, no, I was just lamenting about the fact that I haven't been able to get the municipalities to get together on one issue. I'm not sure why, but.
Well, yesterday I met Ron Morgan, the
Yep.
new Middlefield guy.
Yep.
And he seems very interested in working with Galen and Ted on
Great.
projects involving the lake.
Well, Gail and Ted and Ellen. So not
So,
just,
I just.
but I've written to them, Pat.
They're interested in doing it.
I've written to them a couple of times now asking for something. So let's keep trying to get that going, and we'll see what we can find out on that. The dam grant, DAM. We already did an update on that. Canandaigua, no, it's Canandaigua. Did we want to have we talked about having the towns come and meet with the gentleman we met with at Canandaigua. Do we still want to do that?
I think people would want to.
So we'll take this,
Be as a town boardroom.
so we're talking supervisors or board members?
Well, think about it this way, if you want a board to do something, you need 3 votes.
Yeah,
And if you're only talking to the supervisor, that's 1 vote.
right,
And if that person has the option to either present it to the board or not. So you're much, but from a political standpoint, I would say, if you want something to happen, you're much better off giving an educational opportunity to more.
right. So in terms of pulling the boards together, that's a big project.
That's a big project.
So who wants to work on that? I'll work on it, but I can't.
Can I ask a timing question? It seems to be, again, focusing on our Gantt chart and getting the 9E plan done. So far, all the municipalities seem to be marching, headed in the right direction. If we're talking about having this kind of a meeting, a Canandaigua Lake meeting for the I mean, what would its purpose be? I think there's, right now, enough enthusiasm to get the 90 plan organized. I don't know how much, it may not be, it may be a timing question.
Okay.
But when they feel more about what the 90 plan is, all the town boards may feel more ready for a meeting with
Okay,
a mature program.
Yep, that sounds great. We mentioned,
And if the mayor and the supervisors did have a meeting, they could focus on when it would be appropriate and what we should be providing at that meeting.
yeah, but they aren't meeting.
Well,
So I think what we can do is we can even raise it at the leadership meeting coming up at the end of February. We can raise it there and say, that, you know, it's something for them to think about.
Yep, that's a good idea.
I think they're looking forward to the leadership meeting. They mentioned it.
Okay,
And the other thing is, I just recently looked at the 90 calendar again, and, you know, it's very disappointing that it goes into 2027, pretty much past the point when we would be able to apply for new funding under the usual New York State calendar.
yeah, I think though that what the consultants have said is that line, that timeline is movable. If we can move it up, we will. It just, again, it's when the regulatory committee gets their work done and the ag committee gets their work done and the public meetings happen. So it's all us who are driving it. It's not the consultants.
Right, and
I
it's,
think there's a lot that will be in that calendar between now and 2027.
Yeah.
It's not impossible to move things up, but we should be cautious about just
Yeah.
arbitrarily. Because
Yeah.
this is a timeline formula that's set out by the state. And I think it is that there's expectations of certain deliverables at certain points to fit into their own calendars. And from my perspective, there is a lot we have to do just to get the rest of this over the finish line.
yeah, and I think we're
I
in a,
just don't like it that it might make us wait a whole nother year before we can apply for any of the things that are already being identified as stuff that we would like to see as a result of what we've discovered so far.
So,
but I.
Well, the only thing I would caution is that we have a lot of that ongoing right now. We obviously have the damn DAM grant that Kyoko is getting across the finish line right now as far as its entry. I was talking to Christo, so there is,
June 1.
going to be an effort to make an application for feasibility study for the ponds. And I do think those are very necessary items we have to complete before follow-ups with either of those activities could take place. So I get the point, but I'm not sure we don't have more that we need to accomplish first anyway.
you know what,
Usually
Jacob,
grant-wise.
maybe what we could do is simply, just as a important thing for the consultants to know, just let them know that, and they may already know this, that New York State grants have timing issues that we should just think about. Doesn't mean we have to move anything, but they need to put into their thinking that there's a New York State specific issue that we need to sort of work with.
That said, my perspective is that we're in for the long game here, to be focused on a specific annual grant cycle and try to push things around to get to that. I don't think it's worth the candle. I think we should do it with all deliberate speed, but keep our eye on the ball.
Both are, balance both, yeah. Go ahead, Bonnie.
I have a two-pronged question. Would Pat remind us of the date by which grant applications have to be submitted in 2027 for ones that you are aware of?
Pat?
You're muted again, Pat. You're muted. I turned it off because I knew you wanted to talk. It's either 21st of June or 21st of July, one or the other. I just don't have it on the top of my head. And the effort there, the deadline for all those ones that are Department of State, DEC, many of them are in that same CFR calendar. So we'd be looking at June, end of June or beginning of July 27 as our having applications, grant applications submitted.
Or if it's July, then ready to go. If it's June, then submitted.
Yes, and the second related question is, that it just blew in my head and out, but do we have to have the 90 plan submitted and approved before we can submit those grant applications?
Probably.
Probably not. I don't- No, the proof of look to Kyoko, she's already,
Wanted to have that.
well,
I'm sorry.
it's interesting to me, we can have an application, I find it hard to believe that an application will be barred from being filed if a 9E plan hasn't been adopted when we are already applying for programs that are going to be in our 9E plan. I don't know how severe that block is, if there's a regulatory rule about it.
There is none that I'm aware of. It's just that if you have an approved 9-element plan, your rating is going to be higher.
Yeah.
But it does not exclude municipalities without 9-element plan from applying. And there are tons of projects that are funded without 9EP.
So an addendum to what Dr. Yokoda said is sometimes saying that this plan helps contribute to some of the goals and the development of the 9-element plan also helps.
Right.
So that's something to
Okay.
also think
So
about.
they're not mutually exclusive, it doesn't.
But they do help.
Okay.
And I've always thought that having a definitive goal increased your chances of reaching it. If you have a vague goal, then it's much harder to reach it.
Yeah.
And so if I'm just trying to get my head around, if we had the 90 plan submitted, let's say in January of 2027, we don't know how long DOS DEC will take to approve it, but we at least know everything we want to know in order to prioritize our grants, our grant applications. Is that at all realistic to have an end of January 2027 goal for submitting the plan?
I think the consultants would say that that would be extremely aggressive timing. But I don't know that we've asked.
And you would remind me when they think.
June.
is real.
I think they
June.
think the timeline that we have, and I was not part of this when we started, but I believe we already set a very ambitious
We
timeline
did.
that was already out of scope with what was suggested.
Yeah.
And the only caution I would make is that it's very critical that we make every mark and that everything is hit upon the way that the state approves of. Because really the 9-element plan is potentially a gateway towards better funding opportunities.
I mean, if you look at I'm sorry, did I interrupt?
No, go ahead.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
No problem.
The charts looks like that the 9E plant would maybe be done by us by March. And then April, May, June is, editing, et cetera, submission. So to Christos's point, we could say, if there was a grant that we felt we had to get going in June or July, we could say the 9E plan is completed, it's in review. We can give you chapter and verse from that plan, et cetera. So I don't think it's mutually exclusive. I don't think the 9E plan has to be done and approved before we use it as a chit.
And I'm just saying that the timing is so close of saying, the goal is to have it approved or have the consultants complete it so that it's submitted by the end of March. Or April, then we do have a shot at making the statement you just made for Team, saying if all of our work is done and it's even been submitted. The reason I say that is because we have always, the consultants seem to have lagged our initiatives, not the other way around. And we hired them, they didn't hire us. So if we say, I know we talked about the end of June, but we would like it submitted by the end of June so that we can say that in our grant applications. And that's what I'm trying to find out a year ahead of time,
Yeah,
14 months ahead of time. Is that realistic for us, and is it realistic for the consultants?
yeah.
But I don't want them to steer the timing. I think it should be, we should steer the timing.
So great points. A couple,
I would caution
just
from
a second. Couple points I'll make. I think that we did actually lag in some of the stuff that we had to submit. There were timing issues here. So we are not without fault in terms of maybe pushing this up a little sooner. Also, they were looking at, I think, December or January, if I think about the project proposal, Jake, of 28, and we pulled it back. We said we wanted it pulled back. This is before Jake got here in June. So I think all those things are true, but I think we can, to Christos's point, even say it's complete, and here are the sections that you might find interesting. It's been, it's in its final editing process. But we can talk to the consultants. Jake, I'm sorry, didn't want to.
I think it's a mistake to view these as being the contractors' driven timelines. These are
Okay.
state-driven timelines that we've already pushed pretty substantially right at the beginning. So I would caution against that, and I absolutely agree. There is no indication from the consultants, there is no indication from the state that we are limited in what we can apply for. It is just better for maybe our heavy lift items that we have the advantage of them being, the output of the 9-element plan.
And I look at the consultants as our guide through that thicket of state process, so we want to use them. We're not going to go off on our own. And I'll just return to the point. I think when we get it done, we get it done. We can make our applications if we wish to in that season and say our plans in the mail, essentially, if it isn't already submitted or approved.
Right.
I think we're at loggerheads over something that isn't really a substantial issue in terms of potential outcomes for grants or not.
Yeah, and I think this is a good discussion, and we can certainly, Jake can certainly, have a conversation with Wendy about this in terms of her experience. Have people applied for grants while they're editing the final document? Have people used it in that way? She could inform us in that way, but
Yeah.
I think, but I think, all good points, and we need to really understand how we do make sure that the 27 grants are things we can apply for. Pat, I totally agree with you that we certainly don't want to wait another year, I don't think. So I think we have to just continue to understand this better.
Can I just make one more point, and maybe it's an educational point for myself? We, in this 9-element plan, want to have a menu of projects that we've really thought through, and we'll be able to prioritize.
Yeah.
If we don't get all of it, it seems to me all our energy needs to be on that. If we have some extra bandwidth to make grant applications in the meantime, so be it. But if we're not doing job one on getting that 9-element plan fully comprehensive as we want it to be, I think we're missing the mark.
Right. And this whole agenda, as long as it is all about that. Everything we talk about is probably either going to be in the 9E, or we're going to have solved it and take credit for it in the 9E. So it's all part of a crazy master approach. So, and I think
And I would agree
we're on
that
track.
we want it to be as complete and proactive and imaginative as we can.
Yeah.
To catch the funding sources' attention.
Yeah.
And what I also remember a year ago when we said one of the problems last time was it was written, maybe it was perfect, and it sat on the shelf. The proof is in the pudding, and it's the funding that will implement it.
Yeah.
And so I don't want us to do a sloppy job. I'm saying, can we do an excellent job by next March?
Yeah.
So that, and have the consultants say, we need an excellent job from you in a couple of months. We're not asking them to do the whole thing then. We're giving them information all along, and they have 3 chapters drafted. But we're saying the whole point of this is to get money for the priorities we have in order to sustain and protect our lake. That's the bottom line. And the report is the means, is one of the means to it, and the second means is getting the funding. So I don't want us to shortchange the report, but I don't want us to say, because I know I've worked on several reports like this over 40-some years, all of us have. And you can make it perfect if you give yourselves another 2 years. And I don't want us, and I know we're not talking about 2 years, but I'm saying a couple of pushes from every single one of us, including the consultants, could make the difference in our getting $500,000, $1 million to jumpstart the implementation that that really establishes the credibility of our mission.
All good points.
Last statement.
No.
I needed it worse.
No, it's an important conversation, and we will continue to figure that out with the consultants and see what they say. But I think Jake's point is well taken, that they're walking through this in order to meet the state requirements so that it does get approved. So both of those things are true at the same time, I guess. So, but we'll continue to figure this out. Lake Pledge update. I don't know, Jim's not on the call. Do you know anything about the Lake Pledge, where we are with that?
I know it's being refined.
Okay. And then the Drinking Water Protection Program, Bill, any dates from him to come up and meet with us? The guy who's.
I was working on the egg stuff, and I didn't hear anything back from him, so I'll be right with you.
Okay. Jeff's case letter, Jeff Weppel's case letter. I'd like to honor that document, and the way I've been thinking about this is that we maybe put this on the agenda for the WAC leadership meeting.
Okay.
It was, I probably, WAC is probably not a good term for that group, is it? Just to sort of maybe set the table at that meeting for, Jeff came up with this, does this resonate? I mean, we honor it. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Okay, thanks. And then the water pipe location thing, I wasn't sure that we came up with a plan at the water board around that. Did we? Did they?
Not a
plan.
plan. I mean, it's, the location is where it's going to be, and it's going to be there for a long time. The question will be, digging into the question will be the siltation issue. That we did raise the question of a monitoring buoy.
At the south end.
It didn't reach a conclusion, but a monitoring buoy at the site of the intake for the information that it provides.
Yeah, we sent it to him. We sent all the
Kyoko
information.
identified 33,000 with a full array and 23 or so. Is that right, about 23,000?
Yeah, somewhere around 30,
Yeah,
and
I
that's just for
would-
the equipment.
Kyoko had given us information, which we took to the water board. Should we follow up at the next meeting, or do you want to?
Well, what we have to do is, again, that probably would be associated with a grant application, maybe. But we will be preparing the village budget in the next, beginning sort of at the end of this, February, March area. So this will likely not be funded from our general fund. It'll be from the water and sewer fund and maybe divided. They have resources. The question is, I think there'll have to be some more education of the board, water and sewer department, about the value of this. And, Jake, your recommendation will be very important.
In the short term, the fuel station can run out there and do profiles at the intake on a regular basis. We could run out there, if I knew where that intake was, I could do a profile, swap profiles on a regular basis. The village's website says the intake is at 45 feet, also it's more like 28.
Yeah, it's,
And the problem is not addressable by once or twice a week. What we need is the SETch data.
Right.
I spent a lot of time on the lake. The SETch is typically a fraction of a meter. I think the tolerance of that is well below what the concern should be.
At that depth, SETch is important.
well, it is,
Okay, you guys,
Yeah.
scientists, are talking way above our head here, so what are you saying?
You could spend 30.
So the wind causes there to be an oscillation of wobbling back and forth of the thermocline.
Okay.
Which is the area where it transitions from the warmer upper waters to the colder bottom waters.
I got it.
And that wobble back and forth of the lake, which is driven mostly by the wind, is what they're talking about. And the concept of whether you've got it at a certain depth, but then that stage back and forth would cause you to sort of change what the water quality was going into the.
so your point is instantaneous data is better than a periodic review. And then I do assume that we have a geolocation pinpoint for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to find it.
Well, that's,
Yeah, but my point is that if the SETch is an issue, then that needs to go within a foot of being at a critical depth, and therefore you have a serious problem.
Right.
You want to be well below the thermocline, and if, within at least 3 or 4 or 5 meters,
Right.
the SETch is not going to be that dramatic.
Yeah, we talked about putting the monitoring buoy at 45 feet so that we can see what's happening with the layers. And the other reason for putting it at 45 feet is we don't want to identify to any potential bad actors where the hell the water intake is. Up until Matt asked me for it last year for purposes of this group, I've never shared that information with anybody. Because I was told after 9/11 that water intake information was not to be shared.
mhm.
Can I add something that's a little bit different? I was reviewing the Skinny Atlas 90 plan, and they have a section in it on what they're doing to prepare for the changes that will occur with what is expected to be global warming being a bigger problem. And it seems like this would be a good subject for that anticipation, is that somewhere along the line, the intake for that is not going to be in an ideal place in the lake. And what, if anything, you can do about it. And I don't know whether we have a plan for a real section of that kind of a review going on with the rest of the subject.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at, this water pipe thing. So it sounds to me like there are challenges here. And let me remind us, that this is being recorded on YouTube. So what I would wonder about is if the pipe is at a level that is not the best, does that change the readings that the water plant does about how perfect the water is when it comes in there?
The water's going to be better quality if it's taken from a deeper depth. And if the intake is on a slope, which I think it is, one of the better negative, then it shouldn't take too long of an extension to get this deeper water.
So to me, this issue is a 9-element plan issue. We aren't going to figure it all out. But
No.
I think if we identify it and put it in the plan as a major study feature, ongoing assessment, all the
Yeah.
elements we're talking about.
Yeah, I
climate
know. Who is gonna do that? Is Paul and Matt gonna get together and write something up about this, what we need to do? Because I can't get a handle on it, and you guys are the scientists. So can you write something up?
Well, like I said, I'll volunteer to oversee the monitoring of water quality profiles at the site over the course of the summer and take it from there.
But isn't it, your question is much simpler than that. We need a narrative. I mean, I could even try to write up a narrative of a placeholder for the 9-element plan, and you all can review it as scientists, but I think we're just trying to make that.
I can write a narrative.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
let me work with Matt then, and I'll talk to Wendy, and I'll see if this is something we consider in the 9-element plan. I think, perhaps Paul's brought up something important. I don't know if there's any issues with literally like labeling that spot by putting, you would have to have buoys there, obviously.
Yeah.
So whether that's some sort of issue that's still thought of as something you wouldn't want to identify that as a specific location, right at the surface water.
Well, again, if we're talking about some kind of modification, it makes sense to go out to the depth where the modification will take place. So that would move us away from the current location.
Sure, that's a great point.
I would probably jig it a little bit east or west as well as north to south to make it just a little bit difficult for somebody to find that thing.
Yeah, and then the equipment that I got the quote for, that is a data buoy that would transmit the data real time, like the bigger buoy.
Yes.
If you are just interested in monitoring what the potential locations look like in terms of the thermal stratification, you could have 10 loggers underwater, and then you can take them out and then download the data. And that's what we do during the winter for the 5 Mile Point. And that way you still get high frequency data, 24/7, every 15 minutes or something like that. But you just do not get it real time, which may not be critical at this point.
At this point, right.
So that would make the equipment cost a lot cheaper, probably somewhere like a couple thousand at most, including all the hardware. You just need more human power to, take it out, read out the data, redeploy and all that. But that's the kind of resolution of data that you should be looking at to really see the stage movement.
Okay.
And hanging it right off the pipe to collect it would prompt the pigging again, so could be a twofer.
All right, so thank you. Thanks for taking the lead on that so we can understand it better. And Kyoko, thank you. We'll have you take a look at it as well, I'm sure, because we need all the sciences so we can get.
I have a 6 o'clock
Yeah,
meeting I got.
we're done. We're pretty much done. I think there's the only other thing I wanted to make sure we talked about was whether the regulatory stuff is getting done by the towns, Bonnie, the assessments. Can't hear you.
I can say yes. I think right after the first of the year, in the first week of January, I reached out to Pat at Seagull, to Jeff for Middlefield, and was told that what Bill and, let's see, what's his name? Henry Miller in Springfield had completed the assessment, and that was sufficient for Springfield. But, so I have said to Middlefield, and I think Jake is being the liaison to the village.
Sorry.
And to us and to Pat, but Otsego, that March 31st is our deadline. I would ask that everyone complete the assessment by the middle of March so that we could review them all together, and if we wanted to share them with each other, or if we saw particular issues that needed follow-up, we had at least 2 weeks for that.
Okay, so.
And for them to get back to me if they needed any other resourcefulness, other than people from their own towns, so that I could reach out to our leadership committee, for example, and pull that together for them.
Okay.
Or if they wanted some more information before providing their assessment,
Okay.
or in identifying certain things that they would like.
Okay, so this is one of those items that we drive with the consultants. So we need to make sure we get those reports back so that we can get them finalized and get them to the consultants. So this is one of the things that we drive. Just one last thing, I wanted to be clear with the members of the committee, and everyone else is happy to stay. When you vote for your town. You vote on behalf of your town. If we take a vote, you're voting on behalf of your town. Just like a congressman or a senator or anyone else. When you come here, you vote on behalf of your town. So if you feel a need to take an issue back, if we're calling a vote, please feel free, but I just wanted to be clear on that. I did check with a lawyer on that, and that is accurate. So I just wanted to make sure the members know that when you vote on behalf of your town.
And I'm gonna say as a town board member, that's what we expect, that you're gonna ask us and we're gonna say, yeah, that's how we wanna see it done.
Yeah, okay, good. And that's it. And thank you for coming. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
You're gonna come with Tina?
I will try.
Yay!
I think much to my chagrin, I was a bit too absent for last year.
You were, Chris. Nice to meet you. What's wrong with
So-
yours?
Unfortunately for me,
We'll take you whenever we can get you.
let me put it this way. I will do my best to be here in a lot more meetings than what I was last year.
Okay, well, thank you.
That's,
I appreciate it.
I think that my absence caused more problems than.
Yeah.
We love having you here, so we're happy you're gonna be
I mean,
here.
I don't think it's a.
And I'm really happy.
Probably next couple of
Yeah,
years.
that's actually great.
Definitely really.
Alright.
Thanks again, Chris. Really, I need it. You get the idea that
I know you do. Believe it or not, Bertine, I know you, contrary to popular belief and contrary to some heated exchanges we've had, I know you need one. That's why believe it or not, I don't hold it against it.
No, I know.
It's just that you have to realize that when people talk about projects, I get the goal. You guys look at the goal, and that's great. But I think